Welcome back to Bridging Healthcare Gaps. So the show we talk to innovators, thought leaders, practitioners in healthcare so that we'll see how we can bridge healthcare gaps. Today I'm very happy to invite the company called Agentman. And Prasad is the founder and the CEO. And also Sachin, I think is VP, right, in the Agentman Healthcare branch. So happy to have you both on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler.
All right. So
we're super excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Cool. So I'm very excited about this your company, and I think the listeners will benefit a lot. Some insightful information from you guys. So to start with, just tell about what your company does.
Okay. I'll start, and then Sachin, please jump in time. So we started Agentman about 2+ years ago as a project where we help people build agents without writing any code, right? All in English. This was way before anybody even thought it was possible at a production scale. This was at, I would say, at the end of 2023. We had a product, say MVP in the middle of 2024, and then we commercially launched in the beginning of 2025. Well, the last year we built a full agentic suite where you can build an agent, test an agent, monitor the agent, look what's wrong, what's right, observe the agent, and deploy it. While we're building it, we work very closely with customers, and we work with a number of e-commerce customers to build sophisticated agents for them. And as well as we started to work with healthcare customers, right? And our mission has always been democratizing technology so that it's available to everybody and not the ones that can afford it. Typically, large companies tend to be the first buyers of any new technology because it tends to be expensive. It tends to be hard. So I've always been about democratizing it. This is my sixth company, and this has always been a through line. And through that process, we met Sachin. We've been working with Sachin and his practice until we deployed our first agent. And Sachin said, hey, you know what? This is working so beautifully. And you have a great vision of bringing back joy to practicing medicine. How about we team up together and run the healthcare? So that's where we are today. We see a huge opportunity in helping small practices, and we are at the beginning of that journey.
So Tyler, my background is much of technology. For the last 10 years, I've been managing two of the medical practices here in Central Valley, California. One of the kind of rural areas where you see a lot of challenges to access to care, but also in terms of just productizing your operations. So the biggest challenge for all the practices, smaller practices, really is how much they end up spending on operations. And the stark reality came out during COVID when suddenly you were not able to see patients, and a whole lot of practices really had a tough time to survive. Not just lack of technology, but also in terms of payment models and the administrative burden they all just collapsed at the same time. So it's pretty hard, and it continues to really be the biggest challenge for independent practices in this our industry that we have on the healthcare side. And I think to Prasad's point of bringing joy to medicine is really that's something on top of every practitioner's mind, whether it's a small or a bigger practice, just because of how much of the administrative burden has really pulled them down, whether it's documentation, chart documentation, or prior authorizations. All of this is taking time away from providing clinical care. And if they're spending 5 to 7 hours every day just doing this, you can imagine not just the cognitive load on the providers who've spent 15+ years actually specializing in this clinical care, but now ending up signing off on prior authorizations and memorizing certain codes. And that's really been the biggest challenge for us. And I think over the years, I've introduced solutions and services that help us automate some of these things, but it's never really to the stage where it impacts our performance, impacts our practice of medicine itself. And the last 2 years have been great in terms of, advent of AI and how it's been allowing us to start creating some new ways. And I've rolled out an ambient AI solution, etc. But I think the opportunity came through when I started working with Prasad to see how we can really roll out agentic AI in a practice world, which actually helps a lot of not just the practicing staff, but also the clinical staff as well as the physician themselves. So I think that was the motivation for me because at the end of the day, I want to be able to help more independent practices to really not just survive, but thrive. And it's less than 40% of the practitioners now are on their own. And this is really an opportunity for them to kind of live up to their dream of how we can really scale it up and have them not having to have 8 people to support one physician, but with solutions like ours, Agentman, that helps them actually have more time in front of patients. And that's really has been our goal.
Cool. I think before we dive in, talking about all these agents, I think Prasad, I think it's good to kind of have you give us briefly about your background as well. I think it's you have very strong background in all aspects. So
yeah, totally. So I've been an entrepreneur for 30 plus years, and the kind of entrepreneur who what I call is a builder. In that sense that if I look at a problem, I get to the root of the problem and see if there's an opportunity to solve it for not just one or few, but for many. And I'm really good at identifying technology early on and its possibilities and connecting the dots. So if you go back in the 90s, building the internet infrastructure, internet tooling, as well as in the 2000s, helping enterprises adopt web app technologies at scale. And then in the late 2000s, bringing cloud storage to the masses. We were one of the first ones to imagine that people will store stuff on the cloud in 2007. And we started a company called Office Drop, where you can store your paper, documents, anything in the cloud and search it, not just search on file names, like to search the content. So we were the first to offer OCR in the cloud. Until then, people would use printer software to OCR documents. So we were the first ones. Now it's such a feature within Google that you don't even know it exists. It's there. But we were the first ones. Google didn't roll out until 5 years after we launched. And so on. So we always found technology that we think is going to become mainstream, but it's so inaccessible, and start to build out solutions that will help small businesses and consumers. So this is, I would say, Agentman is on the same mission of helping the small businesses adopt technology at the same rate or same time frame as enterprises who can afford to do it. Right. So that's been my mission, life's mission, I would say, not because I chose that to be one, because I get excited to be one of those people. Right. So I really like to be able to, and as part of that mission, one of the things I've enjoyed doing is teaching people. So I have probably taught about 3,000 people over my entire life in number of settings. In fact, on the Agentman alone, we have trained over 600 people in building agents last year. Now we've launched a new series called Agent Skills. We just ran a class on how to build an email triage agent within Claude. So it is a core technology within our platform, but it also can be used in cloud. So we taught people on Tuesday. We had over 100 people who attended, 160 registered, and also free, right? So we are basically upskilling people, that everyday people, and helping them use AI to speed up their workloads. So that's been my life's mission, I would say. And when I think about finding people like Sachin who really are coming from a customer's point of view, trying to make a life efficient for them, it's a great marriage for us.
Yeah, I like that. I think the AI is like it advanced so fast, and a lot of people want to jump on it, but they have no idea, right? Basically, right now they are using a lot of different tools. every day, I don't know how many new AI tools is become available. So I think they try to use ChatGPT or things like that, very basic stuff, and they want to do more. So I think provide that kind of platform to teach people and help them to learn, because there's some learning curve, right? And that which can be very straightforward and maybe not takes years or months, maybe sometimes take days or weeks, you can get to a certain point. So I think I like what you are trying to do. So now let's go back to talk about your Agentman platform. So as far as I understand right now, the Agentman platform is like you can use for all different kind of industry, right? You talk about e-commerce and other small business they can utilize to build their own agent and deploy and test on your platform before they deployed it, things like that. So today, I think I want to focus. If we talk every industry, we probably take hours. So I want to focus on just healthcare. So let's start with I think the how you right now, from what I see from your website, you have agents already ready and already can be commercially deployed to any clinics right now. So let's talk about that agents you have right now and how you build it and how it's become available right now, the whole process.
Let's zoom out a little bit and set the stage for what would it be a year from now, right?
Okay.
So if you think about where we are in the agentic journey, from a broader industry perspective, we are literally not in the first innings. We are early stage, right? So there are a number of companies, some of them really good, and many of them, just trying to see where's an opportunity building in healthcare. Right. So the advantage that we have is we have built the platform from the ground up. So everything about the language model we own. So a number of players tend to build point solutions, saying, hey, I'll just build you a coding agent, or I'll just build you a pre-authorization agent. Because every time they have to build a new agent, it's like literally they have to wait for the technology vendor to provide them the necessary tools. So, but when you have the ability to control the direction of the underlying agentic platform and the cables, etc., then we move much faster. So our goal by the end of this year is to automate the entire back office for a small practice, right? So it's not, you hear a lot in healthcare, the idea of the RCM, the revenue cycle management. It touches like 5 or 6 workflows. We think of it going beyond all of it, right? So what does it mean? It means beyond the money side of it, but also on things like when you get fax messages, when you get voicemails, how do you handle those, right? So those are all, and confirming with patients they're coming or not. Those are all not related to RCM, but related to the patient care part of it. So that all are burdens that today a practice has to deal with. So our mission is to be able to solve all parts of it. Now, where are we within that solution? We literally are in the first quarter of it. We've deployed what is the eligibility agent, and Sachin can speak to what the choices we made. And then we are currently testing a universal inbox agent on it. And I can get a little more details of each. But Sachin, maybe you can reflect on why the choices we're making in terms of the rollout of the different agents.
Sure. So for every practice, we're really focusing on making sure we are able to see all the patients, right? With 95% or more of all of our patients coming in with insurance, it becomes important for us to make sure to verify that the patient has insurance. Otherwise, we don't get paid, right? If you think about it, I think in US, healthcare is the only industry where you take care of the patient during the visit, you follow through, get him all the devices, medications, prior authorizations you need with nothing up front, and you wait for 4 to 6 weeks to get paid. And that too, it's possible that you may be denied because you're justifying your care for those several weeks going back and forth in the denial process. So tell me in which other industry where you wait for literally 10 weeks to get paid for a patient visit that happened today, and you've taken care of for the next 8 weeks, right? That's the challenge we are living in. And to make sure that the practice really survives, you got to be proactive in making sure that, hey, the patient has insurance, the patient has been assigned to this doctor, the patient has certain conditions so that we actually can get him the medications he needs. All of that is so intricate, tied into the insurance marketplace, right? And it depends on what you have on your card. And so that's why I realized that, we have a dedicated resource set aside just to do that. They do nothing else but doing prior authorizations, eligibility checks all day, right? Imagine spending that 50 grand a year on that person when all I'm trying to do is protect my revenue so I don't get denied in future. So if you think about it, we're just really thinking that's how the market has been forcing us to do, right? So for us, it made perfect sense that we want to see how can we help using Agentic AI our practices to make sure that that's the part that's taken care of automatically. You give that information to the agent, and agent will take care of it, all of it. Go and talk to the insurances, get all the information, validate it. If an insurance is invalid, we can even now look at calling the patient using a voice-enabled AI that actually can call the patient and confirm their insurance information so that one, we keep the appointment, we don't have to cancel it. And two, we actually now have the accurate information so we can actually bill and get paid for. So that's really the foundation for us in terms of every practice, or small or big, doesn't matter, is really have to focus on. And I think we have the foundation laid out to make that work really well. It automatically, it saves us almost 50 to 70 grand every year just by activating that agent. Right?
Yeah.
Now we are building on top of it as we go into voice agents, we're going into inbox triaging. An average practice with one doctor, can you believe it? We get around 80 to 90 voicemails every day, around 100, 120 faxes every day. So my lifeline is really tied to my phone and my fax. So our healthcare industry isn't going much far for the last 30 plus years, right? And knowing that this is not going away, we really have to find ways to allow that administration to be taken out and see an AI solution can actually take care of it. Answering calls, processing your inbox, and prioritizing it for you and telling you what's missing in each of those is where I want to see my staff really spending time. So that way we can answer more patients' questions and help get more patients indoors. So that's, if you think about it as we move forward along that, those are the three agents that are quickly going to be applicable for in the next few weeks. And then we have the rest of the roadmap that Prasad was referring to that helps us build the denial protection agents, provide us with a lot more support to do prior authorizations automatically. So we have less and less of dependence on a human intervention.
Good. I'm excited to hear that. I think Prasad, our previous conversation, I know we focus a lot on the current agent you have right now in terms of revenue cycle management, right? That's agent you have right now. I'm excited to hear you guys going to develop much more agent for the patient care, even for other workflows, or either for like voice agent you just mentioned. Those are all incredible. So for clinics I talked to, we worked with before, that's their issue, not, well, the issues they are facing, right? If you can solve that will be fantastic. So let's focus on the agents you guys have right now, which is manage their revenue and deal with reimbursement, things like that. Let's say, okay, Dr. Smith, right, clinic, they want to work with you guys. Give us some idea what do they need to do, and in order to have you guys to deploy this agent, they are ready to be deployed in their clinic, and what kind of time frame in terms of for they to totally implement it into their clinic, and what kind of time frame they can start seeing outcomes, which is the most important they care about.
So we come from a consumer product background, right? So what I mean by that is that's what I built all my life. When I say we take enterprise technology and productize it or democratize it into consumer fashion, it's not just stripping away the technology, but also simplifying to the point where anybody can pick it up and use it, right? So if you think about healthcare space in the software world of healthcare, it's notoriously sales driven. Day one. That means you go to websites, they say book an appointment, then you book an appointment, you get on a call, the guy's literally selling you stuff. He's not showing you any other product. There'll be some pre-recorded demos of it, etc. Before you even experience the product, weeks go by. Right? And then and the evaluation process is arduous, right? So who is a small practice? A small practice is the doctor and somebody who's running the back office, right? And these are people who have to run the practice. They're not there to evaluate software and pick one, right? So the way we deliver our solution, you will see this in coming weeks. You can actually go on on our website, click a button and sign up, connect to your practice management system and get your first outcome in 5 minutes. So you can run eligibility checks for
85 minutes?
5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes. Wow.
5 minutes, right? So you can get your first eligibility check done in 5 minutes, right? Like Sachin described, why we chose eligibility, because it's such an important part of your entire week. Do I get paid or not? Should I see this patient or not? All of that, right? So that's like the first thing that you would do when a patient says, hey, I would like to see a doctor. They'll say, give me your insurance. Let me see if you're eligible to see us. Right. So that's how we land our customers, is that they will be able to click, make that happen. Our goal is for you to do that on the phone, not on the website. Why is on the phone? Because running a small business is 24/7. Right? You will do what you will find 5-minute increments. Hey, you know what? Maybe I should go look for solving this eligibility problem. Then in the next hour, once you sign up, you get to say, hey, look, I get all this email, voicemail. Can I send all my voicemail to a Dropbox you can process? So when you register, you get a Dropbox email, right? And you go wire it and say every fax that comes in an email, every voicemail that comes in an email, I'm going to send it to this other one, right? So that may require somebody to step in and provision it. Once you provision, you have now activated 2 agents. An eligibility agent and a voice process, your inbox processing agent. So that takes 2 big chores out of the box, right? So these are 2 that can be done with very little friction, right? Just connect to your electronic health practice management system, connect your fax machine and your voice. The next set of agents requires some special training, right? So why do you say that? A prior authorization agent requires you to know what encounter you're trying to get prior authorization for, what procedure, which is the payer, etc. So you need to get all those things together. And that's where we have a growing collection of trained procedures, we call them skills, are starting to grow. So with every clinic that we land, we have now codified how a prior authorization happens within a GLP-1 drug. Right. So, and so on. So over, let's say, a year, once we do for 2 or 3 endocrinologists, then the 4th one will take, less than the first one, right? So it may take some a week, it'll take them an hour to get ready. So that's how we would land a clinic without ever talking to us, and then set up a call to say, I really like your first 2 agents. Let's roll out this 3rd and the 4th and the 5th.
Is that really that straightforward? I think clinic, they just sign up on your website, and that sounds, I don't know, too good to be true. Is that it's like
Sachin, do you want to share your?
Their receptionists can just do that? Do they need to talk to doctor?
Yeah.
Tell me more. That sounds very too good to be true. I don't know.
So since you come from healthcare, I empathize with you, because I am in the same boat. I would never believe something like that. It was 10 years of me working with so many EHRs, and there's nothing as simple as that. But this is what we are trying to change. That's what we have now to prove.
And that's happening right now in your clinic.
Yes, it is. It is happening.
Okay.
So yes, there is a caveat, which is, it depends on, because we have so many EHRs, there's a little bit of head start to see which EHRs we are ready with and which EHRs we can implement. But that's, again, it's a pretty straightforward process. The way we built the system, it allows us to integrate with any EHR pretty quickly. But it is true, and it has happened, and it is happening right now. And we've talked to several clinics already that actually have experienced that demonstration that we can prove.
So to answer my previous question about what kind of time frame they can see the outcomes, so based on what you just said, they probably can see the outcomes in days.
Yes.
In fact, it's in that first hour, right? So if you
The
think
first
about
hour, yeah.
eligibility, the eligibility check is what is the outcome and definition for eligibility check? It's time saved. It takes about 90 minutes, up to 90 minutes to do eligibility checks for each day for every doctor, right? So you're compressing that to 15 minutes or less after the first run, right? And now you can run days in advance eligibility checks. So what does that mean? Typically, because this is a laborious process, and because people can change their doctors, who is their doctor from month to month, right? People do it the day before somebody shows up, right? And because it takes 90 minutes, people just do it once, right? They won't do it 5 days before just to see if the personal insurance is valid or not, and then call them. As a result, what happens is sometimes the patient shows up and their insurance is not valid. That means you have now lost a slot, a doctor slot, because you can't see them, right? Or even if you check the day before, you have to now scramble and call your wait list, right, to fill that spot. So with this, not only they're able to save 90 minutes of the time down to 15, right? They're able to do this twice or thrice before, right? They can start 5 days before, run it, and say, oh, there are 3 people who don't have valid insurance. Let me call them. Let me fix it. Or one of them is not signed up with us. You know what? There's this other patient who called who wanted to see us on the same day. Let me call them to see provision then, right? So the earlier you call a patient before the day, they're more likely to show up, right? So it's just people planning, right? So now your revenue management is not just about making sure you get paid for every dollar that you see, but also making sure your day is optimized and utilized very well as a doctor, right? So from an outcome perspective, that one unlock eligibility check has so many positive impacts, downstream impacts of it.
Right. Okay. Now let's talk about numbers. Okay. I think these agents doing the revenue cycle management, I assume they help you to save money, right? It doesn't help you to generate revenue, right? For this specific agent. So give us some numbers you guys already see, which I see from your website. Just go through the numbers. Okay, how much, what kind of saving the clinic can expect?
I can give just examples of what I've seen last 3 months, right, in live environment. Instead of manually checking eligibility for every patient, spending anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours, now my staff spends less than 10 minutes. So the automation rate, it's pretty much covered 90% of all my insurances. We have a couple of local insurances that obviously don't allow us to do kind of programmatically check the eligibility, but we have covered 90% of the biggest insurances we have.
Nice.
So on a weekly basis, that means it almost saves minimum 8 hours of my productive staff's time. The biggest part that I think Prasad mentioned briefly, but it's pretty important for me on how it impacts downstream, which is if I am making sure that every patient who walks in has the eligibility checked, it saves me potentially $50,000 to $80,000 a year that I get a denial downstream because the patient didn't have insurance or was not eligible for that visit. So that protection is what makes me so comfortable using this, because I am making sure that not only is my doctor's schedule full today, I know for a fact that I'm not losing any amount out of the patient because of the eligibility reason. Right. So and that is just one agent of eligibility. So I'm estimating around $50,000 to $80,000 saved downstream on an annual basis by just rolling this agent.
Cool. And
I want to quickly add to it. So I think it's really, I think, remember, Sachin, I think you've seen the stats and you said this to me before, is that for every dollar you bill an insurance company, you only get paid 60 cents. Is that correct? And on average.
Yeah.
And how do you improve that, right? One of the ways you improve is make sure that the patients that you see and the procedures that you give them are covered by an insurance company.
Exactly. Right.
Right. So usually what happens is, where does that process start? Is first to make sure that, can you see this patient? That's eligibility check.
Mm-hmm.
Can I provide these procedures, that prior authorization?
Yes.
Right. And these are laborious activities, but if you can solve for it, then you'll collect more of that $1 that you billed
Yes.
downstream.
Yes. You're bringing back, you're making sure your appointments are full, which means that you're not losing revenue. You're making sure the patient who walks in is able to be covered by the insurance, because we don't want to have to perform a procedure only to realize downstream that was never covered by the insurance, right? And that's part of it. And as you start, if I'm verbalizing some of these things, what you don't realize is each of these things are done by one or multiple agents. And they are giving me that summary in a command center where I know for this patient, I can do these 5 procedures and I can get them out of the door.
Yeah.
So that's really
So now this is protecting. It is not only you're getting paid for what you serve, but also within a day you're seeing more of the people who will pay you or generate, right? So there's a third activity, and this is something, Sachin, you can weigh in as well, is when there are patients that will go to will be admitted to the hospital and will get discharged, then the hospital will fax the doctor record saying you have to see this patient within what, 72 hours?
2 days. Yeah, 2 days.
2 days. And if you see them within 2 days, you get paid twice. You said twice as much more or something like that?
So yeah, it's called transition care management, where the goal is that when a patient is discharged, a physician or the primary doctor should be able to take care of them, do a follow-up to make sure that everything is okay, the medications that they have been given are okay, that if they need to be readjusted dosage-wise, all of that needs to be taken so that we make sure the patient is safely back home rather than re-hospitalized within 4 days or 5 days, right? So there's an intent from every payer and every physician to make sure that happens correctly and completely. And by making sure that we are bringing the patient back in, we are meeting those requirements, but also making sure the patient care is taken utmost priority. But that actually helps you grow more revenue because those visits are even more reimbursable than a regular visit, right?
Yeah,
So that's
and you get what, as an email or a fax, right?
It's usually fax, and that's not even and that's the challenge, right? With the amount of faxes we get drowned in a lot of that information, and we do end up missing some of those important messages. And that's where, if I get 2 days later to that message, it's sometimes could impact patient care, right? Hospitals don't call us on the phone. They usually sometimes fax it, sometimes we get it by mail. Even though we have regulations in place that mandate the hospitals to tell us, but it still doesn't happen consistently. So this is where an agent that's actually monitoring the voicemails, monitoring the inbox, can actually bubble it up, because now I can train this agent to tell me anytime you get a fax from a hospital, I know that's super priority. So that should bubble up to the top of my list when I open my command center. So the staff is trained to only look at that. They're not looking into faxes and copies of papers. So that's where that brings out the importance of it.
Well, that's amazing. Now let's. I think the very next question, doctors or clinic, they want to know is, okay, those are amazing. So how much I'm going to pay for this kind of agent?
It's a really good question. We are in early stages, so we don't have I would say, a firm price on it, and the reason is very simple. We want to make it affordable to practices that anybody can pay for it. At the same time, we are building a business, right? So it strikes both sides of it. We do know for eligibility agent, we have a price, right? Because we have been using it for 3 months, we see the value we create, etc. And based on what just Sachin said, hey, look, we'll save 60 to 70,000 per MD. You would think we should be charging a lot of money, right? If you're saying 60, but we don't. We are charging $150 per MD per month. Right, so that's amounts to about what is it, $1,600, $1,800 per year for that agent, which will save them about $50,000 to $70,000.
You say $50 per month per agent?
$150 per month.
$150 per month
for
per agent?
For the eligibility agent, right? Okay. So for the eligibility agent per month per doctor. So if you have 5 doctors in your practice, that's 5 times, right? So because the reason why it's priced per doctor is because it's the number of patients that will see them on a daily basis that determines the volume of it.
Right. I remember, maybe I misunderstood before. When we talked before, you said there's a use-based pricing as well.
Correct.
Is that
Yeah.
so? It's
Yeah, it is
different
also.
from this package pricing?
Yes, but there is usage based. So we offer both options, right? So
Okay.
it's right. So usage based, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it amounts to pretty much the same. On average, if a doctor sees 30 patients a day, it amounts to $150, a round number. So now some doctors may go with the usage based model because they tend to take some time off in some months. They prefer that model, but if somebody, you know what, I want predictability. I want to know how much I'm paying every month. For them, we have this other
Right.
plan where.
So you're talking about like a 5-6 grand per month per year, so that they save them 10 times of that amount, right? Basically.
No, not at 5-6 grand. 1,500 to 1,800 per month per year for the eligibility agent, not 5,000.
Oh, that's less than
1,500.
2 grand.
Yeah.
Yes, then 2 grand exactly. For that.
Jeez.
No,
So,
no.
so that saved them 20 times of that amount.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the power of AI, right? So you and I are experiencing AI, and we benefit from all the technology. So we want to pass those savings down, right? So we don't want to overcharge because somehow we figured out a magic way of taking this cheaper technology, because language models are becoming cheaper every day. So we want to
Yeah.
pass those costs on. So the pricing will be, obviously depends on the agent. So like the inbox processing agent, we just about to deploy, we were in testing, we have not put a price yet, but what we do is we are looking for clinics that want to try out these agents, experience it, and they will help us define the price.
Right.
Right. So because then we will know what is that they're willing to pay for it if it's not available anymore. They say, hey, look, oh my God, you're going to take it away from me. I'm willing to pay this, right? Obviously, some people pay too much, but what is a number that most practices are willing to pay is what we will charge.
Good. Well, that's pretty amazing already in terms of ROI, right? So now, next question I have is, okay, those are help them to save cost, right? How much they spend. Do you have plan to do any kind of agent that actually help them to generate revenue?
There are what are called growth agents, right? Sachin, we talked about it. His idea is that how do you get new patients?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
So that's in development. You guys thinking about that too?
At some point we will. Our focus is solve the current pain problems every good decent sized practice, right? So there are new practices. Their focus tends to be, hey, how can I build up my patient base? Right. So
Right.
these are ones who tend to be focused on marketing and growth and so on. We are not focused there. So we want to basically take existing practices that have been around for some time and help them run better so they can continue to feel happy about running their practice. As the cost of how much payers are paying goes down, right? So payers are paying more and more, denying claims. So for them, it's really important to protect what they've built.
Yeah.
Right. So
just to give you a context, right? I think the challenge is always going to be a doctor, how many patients they can really see, right?
Yeah.
A realistic one, 25 to 30 patients, because you want to spend adequate time with the patient. A lot of times now with the demands that we have in the health systems, I have seen even within my community, doctors seeing 40 patients. That's tough because you're minimizing it to be a 5-10 minute visit, right? So if that's the only way you help drive revenue, then you're going in the wrong way. And that's why you have so much of a burnout on the physician's part of how much they can really
Yeah.
right? What we are trying to do here is make that in a way so that physicians are able to see a reasonable number of patients. Now, there are different models, right? If you think about value-based care, that's a model where it's supposed to focus more on outcomes than volume. It's a great mission, but every health system does not support that in a way. So, if you're limiting your patients to 10 to 20 patients, that's, if you are in a value-based care model, is great, but if you're in a fee-for-service model, that doesn't help you survive, right? So for us, it's about how can we help existing practices to really reduce that administrative burden so that they could potentially see more patients, but to reach to that limit. But think about this, the very old adage we have, every dollar saved is a dollar earned. right? In a small practice, if they're spending for 30, 40% on operations and all of this administrative burden, if we are cutting that down by 20%, that's 20% savings to them that's coming back to them, right? In terms of how they apply it, whether it's to salaries or bonuses, whatever. It's now you're helping your staff to take on more patients, but also do other things with it. So that's the way we want to do it. There is definitely growth agents that we can build, taking care of incoming calls of new patient requests that are coming in. We can also help them build websites that do word of mouth because physicians don't really do much on social media. We can help patients talk about, manage the reputation. There's so much other stuff we can do organically as well. And agents can help you tremendously on that. But I think what we are helping really do is from a practicing point of view, we want to help reduce the huge administrative burden and the cognitive burden that they have, and also help them to see how they actually can, these agents can now start getting into the clinical side of it, right? Advising or reviewing and presenting recommendations based on the research that we have, that helps physicians to really able to make the right choices as well, uncovering, because that's where the AI power comes. Understanding the patient's history and presenting recommendations that they may have missed that helps them actually do better care for the patients. So that's the clinical side of AI is humongous. And that's why we have so much of research on the pharma side, discovery, prevention of disease, right? And that's where we also see our agentic AI growing in terms of value-based care models, as well as improving the prevention aspects of the care.
Yeah, that's very good point. I'm 100% agree with you on that. I think the reason I ask is I see a lot of needs and demands from clinic and their issues they are facing. I think fee for service, that's just burn them out, right?
Yeah.
You need to see more patients to make more money. And that doesn't mean you provide good patient care. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think a lot of clinic I talk to and work with, and they are actually, I think the way to do it is to implement new programs. So that is physician supervised program, right? And then you hire maybe diabetes educators or dietitian or nutritionist. And then you have this program for patient to sign up with, and they talk to their ancillary staff, right? And that in the way that will generate your revenue, and also you provide much better patient care. That's the way to go. And nowadays there's a lot of concierge service clinic provide. I think that's kind of similar concept. I'm glad you guys think about that too, and actually have planned to do that. I think that's tremendous demands right there. And I everything I think clinic they need to do, they need to think about patient care and provide the higher quality, and that will help them to achieve both. So I see there's a potential growth right there for you in that perspective. Okay,
I have a question for you, Tyler, if you don't
sure,
mind.
yeah.
So, we talked a little bit in the past, but Sachin was not on the call. Maybe you can tell us a little bit of what you do. That you said you work with clinics, etc. So we would love to learn a little more about what you do when you're not talking to people like us.
Yeah, I'm in healthcare for more than 25 years now. So I am engineer by training, but I also have a biomedical background and electrical engineering background. And so that I start with a software engineer from my early days. That's maybe 20 years ago. And then I start working with a lot of clinics and develop these clinical programs for them, etc. And especially I'm in Colorado, so I'm also right now on the nonprofit organization, which we help primary cares to provide how you use all this innovation, right, to provide better clinical outcomes. Okay, so in this group we have practicing doctors, and also from the university, from the research point of view, we have the thought leader from there as well. And then we have clinic manager like Sachin, what you're doing for the clinic. So we get in from all aspects of the in this healthcare. The goal is we want to make healthcare easier and improve the quality of outcomes for patients. Okay, so that's nonprofit part we are doing, and I work with a lot of different local clinics here in Colorado, also in the United States as well. And before, I also managed the entire business unit for the medical device company. I'm doing for that's for too long. I think more than 15 years. So that's why we talk to a lot of clinics and doing a lot of different things and try to achieve the same goal, right? To achieve the same goal. So that's why I think this podcast is, I want to bring all different stakeholders from healthcare, right? Share your vision and talk about what you do, so that I think the listeners can benefit from this. And listeners can be all different stakeholders too. Can be company like you, right? Innovators, right? They want to get into the healthcare, and also, of course, the practicing doctors, and they listen to the show, they will benefit from this as well. So hopefully that helped you to get some ideas.
Yes,
totally.
appreciate that. Thank you.
And you had very, very thoughtful and detailed questions. So I really wanted to understand how your background, because I've spoken to a number of podcasters, but you coming from very industry point of view, and it's always refreshing to hear the questions that you have experienced it on the ground. You've seen the problems, and I can see that in the questions that you're asking.
Good. I am happy you get that, and I did a lot of homework too to answer this question. And this kind of question is, I think the listener will benefit from, and they want to know.
No. I think when you said, look, revenue can come either directly or as a second order effect, right? When you save money on the grunt work which is needed, then you can go hire that expert behavioral person that can help with diabetic counseling, let's say, or weight counseling. That way, that frees up the time of the doctor, that they can see more chronic patients. Right, so that shows that you understand the dot connects the dots, that you can connect from one to another, and that's how you get to revenue. It doesn't have to be always seeing new patients. You can see patients that will generate higher revenue per patient, as opposed to seeing those by helping you by bringing specialists, who cost more, but you can free up resources. I think this is where, Sachin, I think you had said to me early on, said, Prasad, it's not just about saving people, it's about retaining people.
Yeah.
Right? Especially in healthcare, other industries as well, retention is always a problem, right? Good people don't stay too long. And can you share what are some of the reasons why they don't stay in a single clinic for too long?
So, this is one of the industries where patient-physician relationships play the utmost biggest role, right? Because it's your health that you put in the hands of your doctor. And if you're healthy and doing well, the physician is doing all the right things, right? But the problem is, a lot of times the physician is powerless in delivering the entire spectrum of care the patient needs, right? Take an example of prior authorizations or denials on certain things. It's not in our hands. The doctor may be recommending the best medication for you, but if it's not covered by the insurance, you're now stepping back and giving something else. It may not be the right one, but I think part of what patients really look at is, in addition to how well the doctor listens to the patients and understands the problems, is also the effectiveness of the patient care, right? And we see regularly patients who have very specific needs, complicated needs sometimes. The challenge is always going to be, I'm not able to get an appointment early enough with this doctor, so I'm going to move on to some other doctor, right? Because we have such a huge waiting list. Sometimes patients don't want to wait for that, right? And there are multiple reasons. And part of what we're doing through Agentman or AI agents is really trying to free up. Our patients call and say, Why is it that I invariably always have to leave a message? There's never somebody who live picks up the phone and talks to me, right? And if I'm sitting right there next to my staff, four of them in there running around and doing all these things, I know for a fact that of the 50, 60, 100 calls we get, they're taking more than 50% of them. But the challenge is it's hard to take so much more while actually delivering care. But they use that as an excuse to say, well, I want a doctor and a staff who can really talk to me face to face. And that's hard. And that's another reason why patients move on, find another doctor. And that's another reason
And,
why I
and
have to check every month whether the patient is still with us, right? So
and then also there's a burnout among employees because of
yes,
all this, right?
exactly.
So
There's
there's
a lot of
also
burnout, and it's great that AI is now being deployed. I've seen several successful technologies out there, voice activated AI, where phone calls actually are handled by AI with a very natural sounding person who's connected to our schedule and who knows exactly when the next appointment is available, who can even help them reschedule the appointment on the phone. And that's where we will be very soon. So that's one example of how we can impact patient communications, which impacts patients' own perception of how well this practice
yeah,
runs.
yeah.
That's very good point right there. I will summarize that as the kind of patient education section. Okay, so we do that a lot with different clinics, and that's not easy to do. That takes a lot of time, and which clinic they don't have that staff member
Yeah,
to do
exactly.
that. So the good tools will definitely help them. And patient education meaning you empower patient, right? You need to know your status. It's
Yeah,
not just doctor's job to make you healthy. No, doctor give you advice, you don't follow, that's
yeah,
on you, right? And they give you like very specific goal and
yeah.
plan and treatment plan they give to you, you don't follow, that's on you, right?
Yes.
But we
Yeah,
cannot complain, we cannot blame on the patients either,
yeah,
because patients are bombarded with a lot of information, right? If you give them too complicated plan and like or very vague plan, they cannot follow, right? You say,
yeah.
oh, you have diabetes, you need to lose weight.
Hmm.
How? Or a patient doesn't know. And where should I go? And
Yeah,
doctor, they have limited time, and that's it. That's all they can say to them,
yeah.
right? So you cannot blame on either party, right? So that's
Yeah,
why the tool can make it so easy,
Mhm.
right? Okay, you
yeah,
have this plan. Okay, 9 o'clock. Okay, when you are having breakfast, what are you going to eat? Right, I give you good advice, and when they see the meal plan, for example, okay, that's very simple, so that they can follow, right? If you have this
yeah,
medication, right, you know there's so much medication reminder device out
Hmm.
there, or it is, why is they still don't provide enough so that
Yeah.
the
yeah,
medication compliance is not there, right?
yeah,
The tool involving and just need to be very simple and easy to use so that
yeah,
patient can actually use it. Okay,
Yes.
so
yeah,
I'm glad you guys think about that too, and
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's probably in your future agent
Yeah,
yeah,
in fact,
yeah,
development. Okay.
exactly. In fact, I have built in my previous company tools that actually are engaging with patients based on what the care plan is. So it's not just patients waiting for a doctor to say, well, I'm getting the side effects. How do I take care of them? Right? And we're not waiting for an appointment to do that. We want to educate them back using this AI to educate them on, oh, you are on this medication. Here is how you can actually manage your side effects and give them education, give them video links, and it's going back and forth because as an AI agent, it can intelligently converse with them. And the physician is the one who trained those education models. And that's the
yeah,
way we want to go. We want to activate those models so that when we are calling the patients, we know exactly what we are calling about that patient and offer them follow-ups.
Okay, I need to wrap up this podcast, but we can talk
Sure.
more. Last couple questions I have to ask. So, because from my background, a lot of products or even software they require FDA approval. So this kind of AI agent, do you know for a fact you don't need FDA approval, or that's still at the vague area?
So
So go
go
ahead.
ahead, Sachin. No, no, please. You weigh in, and then I will add to it.
So there are FDA approved devices, for example, for mental health, behavioral health, etc. They have approved them. The challenge, as you can see, is AI models are being used in both operational perspective as well as clinical insights and patient communications, etc. So we want to be careful. The AI governance is actually starting to develop now. There's no standards yet, and that's a challenge with AI at this point, but it's a great challenge because that's something that is key to governance, right? In terms of understanding how we deploy AI in any form. Now, states themselves, like California, Illinois, each of them are coming up with their own legal requirements that says if you have any AI engagement through a tool, that you have to acknowledge right on the screen that this is being provided by an AI agent. So that's a simple example of one of the mandates we have in California. Now, part of what we do is we are making sure that we not only have that AI governance, but we're also giving a unique opportunity for the practices to say, I am going to give you power to do these things, and these are the things I want to approve. So the autonomous decision making of AI can go anywhere, but we are always going to put the providers front and center, saying you're the ones who are approving these, right? But there are cases like operationally, if I want to see how can I optimize my patient schedule? Well, it's not clinically impactful, but if the provider says, here are my guardrails or my rules, just follow them and go ahead and reschedule, then that's great. We got the power to do it, right? But the key to any agentic AI or any AI solution is making sure we have that governance structure, and we have that in every agent that we build.
Okay, that's good to know. And the very last question, and I think your company right now, what phase you guys at, and what do you see yourself maybe in 6 months, 12 months? What are you planning to do, or maybe like 3 years?
Yeah. Yeah. So we are what we call early stage company. We are different from many early stage companies. We are post platform, post product companies. We also have found our ICP, right? So that means we know that practices need it. We have a solution that works for them. We are seeing that happening, and we are rapidly building out our entire back office for healthcare. Right? So where it'll be for a year from now, we would have built out the entire back office for small practices, right? So it can become a drop in. Now, not every practice is going to buy all the agents. They'll buy 3 or 4 to begin with, and as they get comfortable, they'll add more agents to it. Right? So, 3 years from now, we see ourselves being big part of the small practice ecosystem, and the reason is multiple folds. One is we are a crack team, right? So we have a domain expert amongst our midst who runs the practice half the time, brings the learnings from the ground, but also a great leader in the community that understands, works with other practices to see common problems. And that's extremely unique in startups. There are probably less than 0.5% of the startups out there, even the well-funded ones, that have a practitioner on board, driving the roadmap and the agenda and how it's implemented and so on. The second half is we test out these agents and thankfully into Sachin's own practices before it goes out there. So it gives us some freedom in terms of failing initially and then getting it right. So that's why we are very confident. The third important part why we think we're going to be is what we call as the flywheel effect. So one of the important points we didn't get to touch is what we call as agent skills. Right. So if you're familiar, there's a new concept called agent skills that Anthropic popularized 6 months ago. It's taking the stock market by storm, where every time they introduce a feature for lawyers, it takes the legal market down. If they use it for SaaS markets, it takes it down, right? That technology is built right into Agentman. We call agent skills. And what is that? There's a set of instructions written in English that describe how humans would perform a process, right? So for example, how do you put together a prior authorization request for a GLP-1 drug for a certain kind of a patient? It's different from a different kind of patient, right? So depending on that is a procedure that people are trained on, they write it down, they remember, etc. And that can now be codified into what is called an agent skill. And an agent will load that skill for that patient type. So now that is a technology that we have in our platform for about 6 months now, and we are leveraging that to do all kinds of things at scale. So as we go from one practice to another, we can first practice, the skills are built from scratch. The second practice, you take the existing skills and personalize it. And after a while, you don't even have to personalize because you have done 10 of the similar practices. The 11th practice just takes what's off the shelf, uses it, and is happy 90% of the times. So as a result, you can see the momentum starting to add up, that flywheel of a skill gets better, everybody else get it better, and new skills get created, everybody else. So the flywheel starts to really kill. And we are extremely, I would say, the only player doing this across all of agentic world. The only places that you can see skills are in Claude, in Manus, which is from Meta, right? And a couple of others. And these are not even anywhere near healthcare.
Well, as far as I know from industry, yeah, I will agree with you on that. You are the only one doing this right now, and if you do this better and better, you'll dominate this industry. And I like that happen because that's a lot of demands and a lot of issues you can actually solve for the doctors and clinics.
I think you said it right? So Sachin says, hey, look, if Humana changes the payment insurance rules for a particular encounter, that's in a guideline which gets sent as an email. And if you miss it, you go file a new prior authorization or new claim, but now it's on an old guideline versus the new, and you realize you're not getting paid as much and say, why am I not getting paid? Because you didn't check an email somewhere.
Yeah.
So now imagine a skill is incorporating the latest guidelines. And next time you do the claim, it says, hey, look, you're not going to get paid all this money. You're going to get small, right? Or if you're going to see this patient, make sure that you get prior approval for this particular thing. So the skills become that transportable intelligence layer that connects payers and the doctors. So everybody gets happy at the end of the day. The payers are not getting complaints saying, hey, look, you're not paying me. And the doctor's saying, hey, why aren't you paying me, right? So everybody ends up being happy.
Cool. All right. Any final words from both of you?
Yeah, this is great. It was fantastic.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Neither of us have been in a setting together, and I think I learned a lot what Sachin was saying. So for us, so great questions. So please, I would love to get the recording of this, so we can turn it into sound bites and share with our friends as they want to learn of what we are doing. So yeah.
Sure, Sachin. Anything final words?
No, I think I appreciate the platform because you being in the healthcare, you know a lot of the pain points, right? I think bringing other like-minded individuals who are actually making a small impact on these can go a long way. Appreciating from a lot of the practices.
All right, cool. You guys stay online. I'll wrap this up. We can talk a little more, okay?
Sure.
So thank you for listening this episode. I think if you have any questions for me or for Prasad or Sachin, feel free to leave your comments and questions in this video down this will be uploaded on the YouTube channel as well. So if you like this, please subscribe our podcast, and I look forward to more future episodes with these innovators, practitioners, and so that we can bridge in the health gaps. Okay, see you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.